Welcome to A Little TLC, the podcast where we embark on an enlightening journey through the ever-evolving world of education. I'm your host, Heather Volchko, and I'm on a mission to empower educators and change-makers to skillfully navigate the intricacies of serving our most exceptional students. Every month, we'll be exploring a unique and timely theme in a mini-series format, whether we're digging into inclusive teaching practices, addressing student mental health challenges, or exploring the intricate connection between our personal and professional lives. Each month offers an in-depth exploration of weekly topics that truly matter. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired because this is A Little TLC. So we were just talking about all of the different kind of mechanics of communication in terms of openness or, if it's through technology or face-to-face or phone call. So I
Yep.
want to take this conversation and push it into some of the nuances. Uh, a big buzzword right now is emotional intelligence. I think it
Mhm,
came out really big in COVID. It's been around for a long, long time, but it kind of
mhm.
came to the forefront in the pandemic of now needing to look at communication differently
Yeah.
because you can't read all the things that you can read in person. That
Mhm.
when you're living in virtual spaces, right? We talk about from the neck up and how many things are hidden from the neck down on Zoom or anything like that. But there's so
Right.
many little nuances that go into communication. If it's language or tone or even sometimes like word choice. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll admit I have a lot of, anxiety over phones, like phone calls and
mhm.
text messages because I cannot read somebody very well, and I'm a big, and how I communicate with you is based on how I'm reading you. That is a huge thing for me. So, yeah, pandemic was pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah.
I've started using a lot more emojis and GIFs in my texting and stuff to try to help people understand, hey, this is, I'm not like, I'm joking here, or like, oh, that
Mhm.
was meant to be funny. Just, I know the kids probably don't think that's cool anymore, but
I don't know. I guess it depends which gifts, right?
true.
I was working with an organization and they were trying to figure out some of just like that hybrid work environment, and they were uh, kind of in a standoff between people wanting to come back to work, in person
Mhm.
full time, and people who were kind of enjoying some of the remote options or like the flexibility that working remotely was giving them in that organization. And we had this whole conversation around, are emojis in professional communications appropriate or not? um,
Um,
which just kind of blew my mind because I definitely utilize emojis in somewhat informal communications, but informal doesn't mean personal to me. I think there can
mhm.
be informal professional conversations if you're using either chat or text with people that you work with, as opposed
Right,
to maybe I view email more formally, but maybe that's just me.
right.
Um, so I know I use different language, but I would absolutely embed a GIF in a work chat to
Mhm.
convey what I'm actually meaning by this, especially if it's sarcastic or, something like that, just to make sure that there's no misinterpretation there. Um,
Right,
but it didn't seem like all people saw it that way, that there were some people that are like,
right.
no, that's so inappropriate. Like, that's not professional.
Yeah.
Um, but it opened it up this really cool conversation about what different people view as professional or what
Mm,
they view as personal, and
right.
then how you use the tools at your disposal to communicate that. So if that's
Mhm.
okay, I just have a phone call because I can hear it in their voice and I want to be able to
Mhm.
hear it as opposed to not know what's on the other side of the writing. Uh,
Mhm.
but some people view it differently. I can't read what's on the other side of the phone because I can't see it. And if you're not talking, I can't hear it. And you can hide all kinds of things in your voice that you can't hide maybe on your body. And so people are like, no, I want to be on a video camera call with you.
Right.
So there's
I'm like
all
that,
these.
yeah. I can't tell from your, just your voice. I have to see your face because you can make your tone sound one way, but then your face is betraying what you actually mean, or your body, like your body position or whatever. Yeah, I get that.
Gosh, and I guess I didn't fully recognize how many ramifications, like how many ripples there were
Mhm.
from all of that unstated communication, right? It's not just what you're
Mhm.
saying, it's how you're saying that. And gosh,
Correct.
especially through the pandemic and needing to leverage other forms of communication on a more regular basis, I think that became more obvious to me.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I will say, when like, we kinda talked about this last time with, knowing who you're talking to
Mm,
and how, like you were saying, professional or just with your friends or whatever. But like, I definitely use different body language or different facial expressions with different people. The goofier friends, you can be way more, what do you want to call it, expressive and
yeah.
stuff, because I love to get laughs out of people. And then with other people, maybe they have anxiety or just aren't in a good spot. You lower your tone, your voice a little bit, and you use gentler movements. It's just really reading who you're around. And like, even though we're on, audio right now, I'm very expressive with my hands because I'm trying to make a point. I promise I'm not Italian.
No, I love that because I think you're using everything at your disposal to communicate what you're attempting to communicate, right? Which then makes it easier for me to receive what it is that you're putting out there, right?
Right.
But I think there's part of it is communication, what we're putting out there, but then part of it is, are we noticing? I know in the
Mhm.
classroom, as a teacher, that you were processing and dealing with so many different things and so many
Mhm.
pressures and everything coming from all directions that it can be really easy to just sort of like tunnel in,
Mhm.
and then just need to get through things, as opposed to then also remembering, oh, wait, but there's actually other little bodies around and there's other humans that are involved. I actually
Right.
had a student point that out to me because I was sending an email back to a supervisor on something that was really time critical. And he had come up to my desk, and I was talking to him and answering and just multitasking.
Mhm.
And he's like, "You are not looking at me." It's like,
Oh,
I am so sorry. You are completely correct. And I
yeah.
stopped the email. I looked him straight in the face and I said, "I'm sorry. Can we start over?" You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But it's just
Yep.
one of those like, thank you. Thank you for calling me out, for not being present. You have a need that you need met. And sure, I'm meeting your need, but I'm not showing you that I am with you in this. So I was so thankful. And then after that, we ended up putting up a little sign on my desk, that was just like, present or not present, like focus on something else and feel free to interrupt. And I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Or like, what do you need? How can I help you? And students will come over and they would change it for me,
Oh, I
and
love
they'd be
that
like,
so
"You
much.
are not present right now." I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Wow, thank you." And I mean, for me, like I've always worked in ED, right? I've worked with social emotional behavioral challenges in all forms, and so it
Mhm.
was a way that I could put that out there. That's things that they were trying to learn too.
Mhm.
I mean, we talk about emotional intelligence, right? So, do I know my own
Mhm.
emotions? Can I handle them and navigate them? But can I also then read the emotions of other people and understand those? And then can I actually, the intelligence part is, can I make those fit together? And so
Mhm.
that was our hidden curriculum in every,
Mm.
every classroom that I've stepped foot in. That's kind of that hidden curriculum that we're working on. So we could make it
Mhm.
super clear. Be like, this is where
Right.
I'm at. And they'd be like, no, 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 this is where you're at,
Yeah.
and they could
Right,
help
right.
me kind of learn, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm not doing a good job with that right now. Thank you. And I'll work on that.
Yes. I think communicating with littles is one of my favorite forms of communication,
Yes.
because you can be so much more expressive, because
Hmm.
I don't know if they read you better or what it is, but, like, I babysit, like, every week, and the little guy, I will be very grandiose with everything when he brings me something, use the excited tone and, like, very expressive body language to show him, like, oh my goodness, I'm paying attention to you and I think what you're bringing me is very important and very cool. And it's been quite a learning experience for sure, to just, like, if he brings me something that might be like, oh, that's cool, like, he is excited, so I need to
Mm.
be excited, and I'm try to match his excitement or exceed it. Sometimes I'll exceed it to get him even more involved in like an activity or something. But definitely communicating with littles is a whole different ball game for sure.
But I think that fits you, right? Like you enjoy being an animated person. And
I do
so,
very much.
man, the little ones will step right to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that's what you're doing. All right, I'm in this too, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah.
think that's why I enjoy the older folks. I tend to be like a little more subdued or a little bit more pulled back in my level of expressiveness, at least like
Mhm.
outward in terms of like physical or facial, gestures and, facial expressions, those kinds of things. Um,
Mhm.
but in middle school and high school, it's all like that quick, little side eye contact or like a little sleight of hand nudge, nod, looking over some, like just the little teeny things that it's like
Yeah.
eye contact. Okay, you see me, quick little something. You got that? Okay, cool. Right. And I love that. So much communication can be so subtle, but it's almost like because it was so subtle and we were both on it together, it almost feels like more meaningful in a way.
Mhm.
And I've locked in with some really tough, students who've walked through some tough stuff and, adults are maybe not their first go-to people for who to trust, right?
Right.
But those little teeny nuances and showing that, no, actually, I see you, I get this, like I noticed, almost
Mhm.
catches them off guard. Um,
Mhm.
but it's that, the little things, the little tiny nuances. So from big gestures with the littles and, wrapping them into their world, to those
Mhm.
little things that it's like, oh, I notice you. I see that.
Yeah,
Right.
and we've talked about that before of, like, meeting someone where they're at,
Yep.
you know? If there's a little kid that's maybe not as expressive as I'm used to, well, I'm gonna meet them at that level because maybe it makes them uncomfortable, and I don't know their background and what they're going through and stuff, and, yeah, just trying to match. I think I can pick up on that pretty well too, is matching somebody's, I don't know, emotional level of comfort.
Hmm.
'Cause I don't wanna come into someone who's, like, very shy and just be like, "Oh, hi, how are you? Have a great day," like, that would be so uncomfortable for them. So it would be quieter, less, moving around, and it's definitely reading someone and meeting them where they're at, like you were saying.
This week, it's Hangout Week. Immerse yourself in an exclusive interview featuring practitioners just like you who are sharing their valuable experiences. Whether you're seeking motivation, knowledge, or fresh perspectives, our interviews cover a wide spectrum of topics, even some unplanned ones. We have found that pre recorded interviews offer the flexibility you need to listen, pause, and revisit the conversation whenever is good for you. And did we mention you can earn continuing education units too? But that's not all. By becoming a member of the TLC Network, you gain access to professionals committed to walking this experience together. Learners get access to valuable webinars, enriching workshops, and engaging guest hangouts. Supporters gain access to our vibrant online community, live Q&A sessions, and join discussions in a little PLC. Clever, right? Either way, you'll be among the first to access our podcast and blog pairing every week. Nurture your curiosity, broaden your perspective, and ignite your passion by joining us for this week's Hangout. That's that's really, really good though, because I think that's something that, professionally speaking, I've had some interactions where it it really was kind of just the approach that
Mm,
was, um, kinda made the whole thing result in a different place than what it could have. But as I'm
mhm,
thinking about it, it was probably just a misreading of that emotional tenor of the room, not in the sense of like, "Oh, something bad happened, and so the room is sad,"
mhm,
right? But just like as a person, I prefer to emote to this degree, right? And you
mhm,
came in too hot.
mhm,
Like there was too much and now I'm clamming up.
mhm,
Or likewise in the reverse, like you didn't open up enough. And so now like I can't trust what's behind there. Like all of those kind of uncertainties. It does seem like it's a bit of a mismatch between maybe like the emotional expression that is given and then what that person is kind of okay with.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think, a lot of people try to pretend they're okay sometimes.
Mm,
And it's very easy to be like, if you're meeting someone for the first time and they're not in a good spot, but they're trying to, "Oh, I haven't met you before. Let me try." And so you think that they're like that all the time, but maybe the next time you see them, it's too much. And that's definitely something as well of like, um, when I meet a person for the first time, I try not to come in all, oh, because that's how
mhm,
I am, but I'm more like that with people that I know well, and
Yeah.
they know that I'm gonna come in like that, but if it's somebody new, I'm actually usually very reserved, and I am shy, yes, but I'm also, like, way like, I'm watching very closely to
Mhm.
see, like, how is this person feeling right now? And then the next time I meet them, I'm still reserved because I'm like, "Okay, are they still the same way? Because are they just like this, or did they have a bad day? Are they having a bad day now?" It takes me a long time, but I can look at each time and put it together and be like, "Okay, this is how the person actually is, and they're doing okay today. Let's go in and quietly, let's go in and have fun," that kinda stuff. It's a learning curve for sure, but it really helps people feel comfortable with you, and, um, yeah, they'll be more likely to open up or become friends or whatever the goal is, working with them, they'll be more comfortable working with you or whatever it may be.
Yeah, but I think you're talking about that level of just being observant.
Mhm,
And I think in order to be, I can, as thoroughly observant as what you're saying, uh,
mhm.
that's presence, right? Like we have to be fully present to notice those things,
Yes.
and then noticing them on a, over time, then that becomes kind of understanding them as a person. Uh,
Correct.
I think even when I walk into a classroom and I think I know someone, I'm
Mhm.
still aware of the potential that it could be different, right? And there have
Mhm.
been times that I've come in and I know they're kind of like an upbeat person, and so I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? What do you need today? Where are we at? What's been going
Right.
on?" That kind of thing. And then you give it a couple minutes and you're like, "Oh." Right? And
Right.
I've just full stopped and just said, "I am so sorry. Like, I came in one place. We're clearly in a different place. Like, how can I support you right now?"
Right.
And just shift, allow it to be completely different. But I think that for me has given me the openness that I don't even have to identify exactly where they're at. I'm just acknowledging the fact that it's not where I thought they were going to be.
Mhm.
And then I
Mm.
give them the floor, right? Like, what is it that's useful for you? How can I be supportive for you? Um, and even if they don't have words to put to it, but then they can direct where that interaction is going.
Right. There's a lot of, when you meet someone, looking at what they're wearing and what bag they're carrying and what brand of clothes, all that mess. But
Hmm.
like if you look at their face and their body language and like their expressions when they talk, the tones they use, that can tell you more about somebody than the car that they're driving. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think we are trying to get to know that person, not the front that they're putting up, or they're trying to feel a certain way, but like the actual person, you learn about them by observing them,
Yeah.
not what they're wearing and stuff like that. So, um, I've definitely learned that because the "don't judge a book by its cover," all that
Hmm.
stuff, and it's so easy for the first, what do you call it? The first impression to be, okay. They're dressed like this. They're driving that car. Their hair is
Hmm.
this way, so they're this kind of person. And it's like, listen to them talk first,
Yep.
and see their expressions and their body language, and that's the kind of person they probably are. So I learned that not to be so judgmental. That's super helpful.
That's I run into that exact same thing in schools where it's this kid is from this part of town, or this kid has had this kind of experience in their life. And so there's some of these like automatic assumptions that are put into or onto that student's either story or experiences, or even expectations sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, but I love that that's only part of the story, right? That may be true.
Mhm.
They may come from that part of town. They may have this background experience, right? But that doesn't mean in the present,
Mhm.
all of these assumptions are actually going to hold true.
Mhm.
Something that's really hard to walk through is it's also maybe sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, right? Even for the same person, right? In this
Mhm.
moment, yeah, sure, the assumptions fit. But in this moment, they didn't,
Mhm.
for all kinds of different reasons. But I
Mhm.
love that you're pointing out, yes, you need to be fully present to be observant, but part of being observant is almost proving or disproving our own assumptions from our initial observations.
Right.
and allowing ourselves to be wrong or like to be misproven, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, coming into things with an open mind almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that in order to have an open mind, do you have to be fully present, partially present? Like, is there any overlap between having an open mind about a situation, interaction, communication, and just that level of presence that we are either experiencing or trying to portray?
Mm. Yeah, I think being like 100% present will help way more. Um, if you're distracted or not really wanting to be there type of a thing, it will be much easier to be paying attention, to be watching the person's face and how they're moving and like actually listening to maybe there's some, reading between the lines type of thing. And you just can't do that fully and get to know the person all the way or be able to understand their emotions and what they're going through at the moment if you're not fully there, and sometimes you just can't be. And that's not bad. We can't always be there 100%, but it depends on the context. If you're at work with your coworkers, you're probably not going to be there 100% all the time because you've got so much going on and so many things to focus on. But with friendships and those kinds of relationships, if you making time on purpose, and I think you've talked about this before, to be present 100%. Hey, let's go grab coffee. And your goal going into that is to get to know this person, be no distractions. That is 100% present. That's on purpose. Sometimes you have to do it on purpose. If you're at a really like wild, not wild, but a really loud party, lots of music, lots of people there talking, you might not be able to get to know someone 100% because there's going to be people coming up and saying hi and stuff like that. Big distractions. That's not 100% present. You can do your best, but that's not the thing. So sometimes I think you have to go out of your way if it's important to you, um, to be 100% present.
I like how you're framing that because it truly is. I'm looking at it, it's kind of this both and, right? In order to be observant, we have to be present. If we're trying to observe something but we're distracted, then does that mean that we're actually not present? I think
Hmm.
there might be some overlap there. I also what you're saying about the whole, you're in a big group of people and it's so hard to even just stay focused, even if you want to have a good conversation with someone. And I
Right.
think of both like families with kids and classrooms where, maybe an adult comes in and there needs to be a conversation or a kid walks up and they need some support. And there is
Hmm.
this one on one intentionality of need at that moment, but there's also a bunch of other people around and they also need all the things. And so, how
Hmm.
are we juggling both being present with the current moment? It's in the midst of all of these other needs that are definitely, causing distraction. It's not that perfect kind of one-on-one or small group setting because it's like four small groups all happening at the same time. Um,
Right.
because I think that I just had a conversation with someone. We were talking about uh, how to demonstrate care for people.
Hmm.
And one of the examples was so if you're coming over and you're going to have a conversation with maybe a parent and their kid is pulling at their leg or being a normal needy little kid,
Hmm.
and saying, I need, right? One way to demonstrate care to the parent is to care for the kid, right? What do you need? How can I help, right? And so I'm here to interact with the adult, but part of interacting with the adult is to care for the kid. And I see that translate into classrooms when different, support staff or administrators are coming in and they have maybe a message or a purpose for being there, is like more teacher directed, but they don't just come in straight to the teacher, do what's needed and leave. Um,
Hmm.
they may also have some interactions with the kids and maybe sit
Hmm.
down and help someone with something or give a kid a little redirection and nudge them back toward what they should be doing or, engage with them a little bit in the process of then also, accomplishing whatever it is that they're there for. Um, but that kind of caring for not just the person, but also caring for the people around that person. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's almost like extending out where we're talking like body language and tone and word choice, but then expanding it even from the immediate person into caring for their sphere is also actually helping them be present in a sense, right? You're kind of taking maybe some of their distractions off their
Mhm.
plate for a moment so that they can actually be present in whatever it
Mhm.
is that they are, trying to navigate at the moment.
That's great. That just happened the other day when I went out with, 2 of my friends, and one of them has a little boy,
Mhm.
and we sat down to eat, and, the 2 other friends were trying to have, like, a pretty important conversation, and the little boy's like, "Mama, mama this, mama, mama that." So, he was sitting next to me, so I just turned around and we started being goofy and let him try on my earmuffs and checked
Mhm.
what he was eating, and I could not pay attention to the conversation at all, but I told them afterwards, I was like, "Hey, I was just trying to distract him so you guys could talk,
Mhm.
and if you gotta fill me in, fill me in." And it was actually she was very grateful for that because she has some
Mm.
stuff going on, and she was just really grateful to have a couple minutes to talk with someone while I
Yeah.
distracted her feisty 4-year-old.
Gosh, well, I think this is leading beautifully into the next conversation that is talking about kind of the conflict, that tense bit.
Mm,
Sometimes it's not as pretty as what we've been talking about so far. So
right.
I think I will cut it here for this week and catch you next week.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, we want to invite you to head over to thresholdlearning.org, your one-stop destination for all things TLC. Here you'll find our blog with this episode's show notes, our ever-expanding bookshelf of resources, and anything else we've talked about. Trust us, there's a ton of benefits waiting for you to explore. Just head over to thresholdlearning.org, click on network, and we'll see you on the inside. Sharing the podcast with your colleagues is the easiest way to support the show. You can find us at Threshold Learning TLC on Facebook and Instagram. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to share the podcast. Let them know they can listen on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else they catch their podcasts. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there.